Now, you may have seen this on your socials over the weekend, a debate over two of English football's most talented teenagers following an interview in which Michael Owen said he was a better player than Wayne Rooney at the age of 17. Match of the Day then tweeted about it, asking people for their views, and Owen himself responded. This is what he had to say in reply. At 17, I scored 18 Premier League goals, winning the Golden Boot. Wazza, Wayne Rooney, scored 6. At 18, I again scored 18 goals, again winning the Golden Boot and coming fourth in the Ballon d'Or. Wazza scored 9. In our opening 7 seasons, Wazza didn't outscore me once, 117 goals versus 80, in which time I became the second youngest Ballon d'Or winner ever. Injuries hindered me from then on, while he sustained his level. Therefore, he'll go down as a better player than me, but at 17, please. We should just point out that when talking about his 18-goal season at 17, he turned 18 midway through that campaign. So these are the actual stats before they turned 18. Both Owen and Rooney had scored the same amount of goals in all competitions. Owen did have more assists, though. Well, Rooney has responded to Owen, saying, I think his comments are fair. Of course he's going to back himself. I'd back myself. But I'd never judge myself against Michael Owen because he's someone I actually looked up to and had the pleasure of playing alongside. Well, let's get a striker's view then, Rob Earnshaw. What did you make of it all?
I love the popcorn and I love the tea. You know, I'm glad Michael Owen has done this. I'm glad he's kind of talked in that way because
it's fair play, isn't it? Why not? You defend yourself, back yourself.
No, and exactly. And knowing, you know, Michael Owen, he's very confident. He knows what what is on his mind. He says it. So I love it. I think it's brilliant. But I would say this. Let's not underestimate Michael Owen at this age. I mean, he was ridiculous. And for me, it's not the case of 17 years old. It's 18 to 19 or 17 to 19. That age, I think Michael Owen was unbelievable. I remember I never played against him when he was 17 to 19. I played against him when he was later and played for him. I played against him when he was already established England international. But at this age, he was frightening. He was one of the most frightening players. You talk about what he brought, that speed, that hunger, and he could score a goal in any situation. And you talk about, because people, I think, maybe forget what was frightening. The most frightening thing was a striker, not a number 10, a striker who comes in and he can beat you with speed, with pace, 1v1, and that delicacy and genius of finishing. Michael Owen could finish. I mean, he could score goals anywhere on any pitch. So I agree with it, and I agree with what he's saying because he was brilliant. Let's not kind of, because of recency bias, just talk about what the most recent thing is. Of course, Wayne Rooney. But at 17 to 19, Michael Owen was frightening, incredible.
All those things you've just said, did Rooney not have all of those as well, though?
No, he did. But I think what you probably saw, you saw Wayne Rooney do this at Arsenal, right? And when I saw this, I was like, oh, this kid is special. But you didn't see this every single week. You saw this in those little flashes and you think, wow, okay, you know, 1 in 3 or 4 games or 1 in every 5 games or something, where Michael Owen was probably ahead in terms of in every game. You could probably see that. But listen, Wayne Rooney was incredible, incredible player. But I think he was learning from 17 to 19, Wayne Rooney, and where Michael Owen was already almost established. To be honest, you could even argue he was already in his prime. People talk about prime being later. Sometimes your prime is that at that age, 17 to 19. You're fearless. You're scoring goals. Premier League games, you're walking away with hat tricks. There was a fear factor about Michael Owen, but listen, this is a great debate. I love this one because Wayne Rooney was special. I got to give it to Wayne Rooney as well. I was always a big fan of Wayne Rooney, and I played against Wayne Rooney when he was young, when he just moved to Manchester United. So he was a great player also.
Our poll today on Twitter is exactly that. You can see on the bottom of your screen who was better at the age of 17, Owen or Rooney. And look at that. Very, very tight Michael Owen just winning 51% right now. There's time to change that. Go on to our X account, sorry, not Twitter, X account, and vote in that way. Rob, I've just got one more quote from Wayne Rooney that I found earlier. He said, when he was talking about Michael Owen, very respectful, by the way, the two of them, he said, Rooney here talking about Michael Owen, I think people do forget, actually, how good he was. I agree with him. Do you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I think people are starting to kind of maybe forget that the history. We need to keep the history and show what the levels. And when you know, for example, my son, when I speak with him and he says, "Oh, what was this player like? What was that player like?" I always tell him exactly how I was. You got to remember the context. At the context of time is no kid is coming through at 17, 18 and ripping the World Cup apart and going into a Premier League game and everybody's fearing him as a 17, 18-year-old. That's not happening.
Yeah.
Well, Michael Owen was.
I mean, that goal against Argentina will never, ever... Nobody forgets that, of course. By the way, let's widen up the debate. We can speak to a few representatives from Finalysis now, and out where passionate fans share their opinions. Right, you see, we've got a Liverpool fan there, Lewis Anderson, Everton supporter, Mike Richards. Great to see both of you. Right then, Lewis, who's right? Owen, was he the better player at 17?
Yes, yeah, he was. He definitely was. He was. Owen is the highest goal-scoring teenager till now, to this day, and this is like over 20 years ago. Over his first 7 seasons, he scored 117 goals. Rooney scored 80 now. Rooney was a better all-round player, and the way Owen finished at Stoke and that, Rooney's career is not comparable with Owen's, but in those early years, without even having to go to the Ballon d'Or, Owen was a nightmare. He was so fast. I'm not going to say he was faster than Mbappe, but his pace was like more devastating. He just used to run forward. Like Mbappe and them kind of players will slow you down and speed you up because they can dribble better. Owen was going. You know what I mean? His pace was ridiculous. His finishing was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And this, with all respect to Rooney as well, Rooney was a quality all-round footballer, but as a striker, you can't compare them.
Yeah, Lewis, can you... Mike, sorry, when you think back to when Rooney did burst on at the scene at the age of 17, well, younger than that, wasn't it? What did you think then, and do you still think that he was better then than Michael Owen was then?
Thinking back to that particular time, there was a lot of noise around Wayne Rooney from 18 months previously. Scored a fabulous goal in the Youth Cup at White Hart Lane, I remember, against Tottenham. So there was a lot of noise around him. David Moyes was aware of him. And I think, you're looking to compare two totally different players. It's not as simple as just saying who was better, Owen or Wayne Rooney. Two totally different footballers. As a finisher, Michael Owen was a better finisher. There's no mistake in that. I remember when he burst onto the scene, obviously for ourselves as Everton fans, you look across the park and you see that kind of player, and there's a touch of envy there. But then we had a lad coming through it in Wayne Rooney, and he had everything. He was a total package. He went hunting for the ball. He liked the tackle. He was a fabulous finisher. He had battle. He had pace. He had power. His passing range was very, very good, even at a young age. So when you look at the whole package, you look at who was the better footballer at 17. It was quite simply Wayne Rooney. Who was the better finisher? It was Michael Owen. But you're comparing two different players who played two different roles. And I think that's where it's difficult to actually, if you're saying who was the better player, it's a very, very difficult thing to actually
but Mike, who are you taking in your team? Who are you taking in your team at that age?
Wayne Rooney. There's no mistake.
Just because he was at Everton?
Yeah, he offered more than Michael Owen. You've got to also look, don't forget.
I got to disagree.
Well, you look at the two sides at the time. Liverpool thinking that season where Michael Owen, I think, turned 17, and Liverpool finished third. In the season where Wayne Rooney had that breakthrough goal against Arsenal, scored a couple against Wrexham, I think, a few weeks before in the League Cup. Everton finished 7th. You're surrounded by a different quality of player as well. Don't forget. So when you look at Wayne Rooney, if you said at that particular time, if you put him in United's side or even Liverpool's side, would he have scored?
I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. You are right. He was all round. If you're talking about all round, yeah, he could link the play. Rooney was a bull. He came through like a bull. He was Owen came through like a kid. He had like a kid frame. Rooney had a hairy chest when he was 16. So it's a different kind of player. But if you're talking about the striker, remember they both played up front. Obviously, Rooney was more of the drop back and Owen was more of the last man. Definitely, and I appreciate that Owen played for a better team. But when you're talking about the Ballon d'Or, Rooney was nowhere near that at those ages. Later on, he did once he got to his better team with Man United and that. But he was nowhere in the conversation for those things. Owen, like, he won the FA Cup final single-handedly by himself, and that is not. You don't. We played Arsenal. This was invincible Arsenal. They were the best team. They had Henry.
How much did it hurt you, Lewis, that his... I mean, I've read his book and he really was hampered by injuries that just... They couldn't diagnose those injuries. How much did it hurt you that he didn't end up having as good a career as everyone expected because of those injuries?
I'll be honest with you. I have no love for Michael Owen because he went Man United later on. So... But if he would have stayed, like, we're talking about Liverpool, Michael Owen, this is the one I'm defending right now. And if he would have stayed, he could have been, I don't want to say, like, he wouldn't have beat Ian Rush's record or nothing, but if he could have stayed on that level, he would be like Harry Kane level of goal scoring right now. There was no stopping, there was no stopping that kid. That kid was unstoppable. Look, Argentina tried to kick him, they tried to pull him.
Yeah, they couldn't stop him. No one could.
They couldn't stop him.
Yeah.
Rooney had his Euros. Don't get me wrong. Rooney had his Euros, but I think by that point, Rooney was like in his low 20s. He wasn't 18.
It's an absolutely brilliant debate. I've been thinking about it for the last 24 hours and I still haven't actually decided whether I'm on Owen or Rooney, but two brilliant players. Lewis, Mike, you've been brilliant as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.